Right, everybody, as you can see, there's a book there behind me. We're very, very excited. John has written the foreword to it. John is an incredible man. I know you know John probably for about 15 years, I think, at this stage. And I'm really privileged to have you on here tonight, as always. And throughout our private conversations and the public conversations, I think it's always echoed that, you know, you're a fantastic guy and you're humble. That's what I think everybody loves about you. So tonight, hopefully we can share something that will shed light both on the book, but also on ourselves. And society at the moment has kind of gone a little bit mad. Myself and John were talking just before we come on here, and the world has become a crazy kind of semi-scary place for many people. So we want to deal with that. And the book is called Be Life or Belief. And I'll go through that in a few minutes with a little presentation, a visual one, so you can see why we wrote the book. Some of the authors are on here tonight. I'm just going to let a few more in. And the book is basically, it's a collection of transformational stories from people who've overcome adversity and have gone on to become absolutely amazing people. And all the wisdom and knowledge that they've gained along the way. There's tips and tools in it. I will put up the link in a little while, but just verbally, it's donnakennedy.com/book if you want to have a look at it. Or if anyone just wants to put up the link there in the comments, that would be great. And I will show it later on a slide. But the reason we wrote the book is because throughout every one of our lives, we've seen that belief is such a strong determining factor of how we live our lives and whether it goes up or whether it goes down. So, John, most people know you, but if you want to just maybe tell people a little bit about your story so we can put it into context that although people can become hugely successful, at one point in time, it may not have been that way. So, John, do you just want to give people a flavour for what you're about?
Oh, yes. What am I about? Thank you, Donna. And I'd have to say and congratulate everyone that's on the call that participated in any part of your new book. And you know, I was actually thinking about this before I come in, and I thought, Be Life, this is going to be a very quick call tonight because you can't break it down any easier than just be life. So that's how simple it is. And then I thought, okay, we could get into a really good, strong conversation about belief and be life. And I said, what could we do? We could complicate it. You know, it's so simple. It really is. So anyway, as you said, like background for me, what is my background? That's a very good question, isn't it? I grew up in I would say a very loving family, but a family that, you know, there was a lot of issues. A lot of issues in the home with my dad being alcoholic. My mum was a nurse, come from a farming community, hard-working woman. And my dad just was he was actually a great man. He was a great man when he was well. And when he was sick, he was completely, if you can have two different people, he wasn't a noisy man, he just was a drunk man, and that's all the time. When he was awake, all he wanted to do was drink. And, you know, you talk about belief systems, and I used to think when I was a kid that every time my dad drank, that it was because I'd done something wrong. And that's why he was drinking, because we were always told, and it's funny, you know, I know you're going to get into that soon about like being life or belief, but I believe that we were told as kids, don't annoy your father or he'll drink, right? So kids are very innocent, and if I annoyed my dad in any way, which he told me I annoyed him every day, and then when he drank, I thought it was my fault. You know, and then fast forward my life, and I never liked my dad, and his nickname was Porter Belly. That's what people called him. You know, he just had this Porter Belly, and it wasn't very nice, but it was what he was, and I didn't like it, and I felt very ashamed with my friends when my dad would be coming home drunk and whatever. But by the age of 17, I remember going out with a girl who actually I married, and on the third or fourth date, I told her, I'm an alcoholic. And she says, how do you know you're an alcoholic? I says, my dad's an alcoholic. You know, so my belief system was it's normal and it's okay to be an alcoholic. I visited my dad lots of times in mental institutions when he was coming off alcohol when we were young. So it was normal for me. I didn't know that what a mental institution meant in the sense of his sickness. So when I got to 17, my belief system had me that it would be normal to go to a mental institution, which I did. By the age of 25, I was there 3 times, celebrated my 21st year in life in a mental institution over Christmas. They let me go home for 2 days and had to go back on Boxing Day. So yeah, I got the bug, and I wonder, did I get the bug through my belief system, or did I just suffer from an illness? You know, question you could debate and have a whole seminar on. So that was my background. Lots of jobs. Was normal. The last job I had, I was a bread man, door to door, and I got sacked for things that you do, like don't turn up for work and other misdemeanors we're not going into tonight. So yeah, what a life. You know, when your kid is 16, you're thinking, oh, when I get out there and I'm going to make things happen, I'm going to have an amazing life. And I didn't foresee that I would be in a mental institution by I was 21. And I was back again when I was 23. I was back again when I was 25. And I was actually suicidal and had attempted suicide. You know, and you see a lot of it today in people. And I attempted it, and maybe I was a suicide survivor. Because my intention when I was taking the tablets to knock myself out was that I had taken enough that I wouldn't wake up again. And I made a phone call. I panicked after the event, and I rang my mum, and she got an ambulance and got me sorted out. And I came to in the hospital the next day. And you know, how close was I to death? I remember one night I was at a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, and we're talking about my story. And the guy says, what would have happened, John, if the phone hadn't worked? What would have happened if the phone line had been engaged where you had phoned your mum for help? And I says, wow, you know, that's how close the whole thing was. You know, so that was my story. Got sober when I was 25. Fast forward now, I'm in my 65th year, and I'm 39 years sober. I got sober when I was 25, and Glo and I had a wee party. We celebrated it on the 23rd of September, and 39 years free from the demon, free, and most of that time has been spent or being educated in being life, you know, by your book, Be Life. And that's where you get the freedom. And if I couldn't be that, or, you know, that I had to live in my old past or even my old belief systems, I wouldn't have made it. Now, lots of good things, other good things happened to me. I mean, I want to go to work. I want to support a family. I had 7 children, 6 girls and a boy. And I got into work, got a job after a year working for myself. Through helping my dad, he lent me £6,000 and guaranteed me in the bank, and I got into my first betting shop. Fast forward that 38 years, and we have 347 operational betting stores now between Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, and the United Kingdom. And of course, as everything has moved online now, online seems to way outgrown actually retail. So the survival, if you want to put it in for lockdown of the COVID virus, was not retail, because they were closed for 103 days. And it was amazing. In our business, we were able to carry the retail and help all the staff and pay everyone and take care of everything as a result of that. So I would say so far that my life has been absolutely amazing, Donna. You know, that everything has, you know, you can say everything turned to gold, but then would you said that 40 years ago, You know, when you're lying or your parents sitting around someone's bed thinking, is he going to die? Is he going to live? Or what's he going to do? Is he going to end his life? And I'm sure many parents have lots of young teenagers, or plenty of young ones myself, but they're not teenagers now. The oldest is 45 and the youngest is coming 30 this year. So naturally you deal with all them things, and it's how we deal with them and how we develop and grow and understand and have a life along with that. So I've had an amazing time. I'm sitting here in California looking out the window, and the sun's shining and everything is wonderful. The love of my life's in the next room, hopefully connected in here to the call.
She is.
We just have a great time, an amazing time and an amazing life. And it all come out of just being surrounded first and foremost by the right people. You know, I think that's so important. When you're with the right people, your chances increase incredibly, you know, because they're going to give you information and they're going to care for you and care for your well-being. That's going to help you move in the path you've chosen to be on. And I would say we're all on this call tonight because we've chosen something different than our beliefs. We have chosen to connect to that inner sense of our life system, and we're operating from that. And without that, I just say every day, as we say in our fellowship, is by the grace of God. I see very sick people every day, and I just say, by the grace of God, there go I. You know, so I got a freedom because I wanted a freedom, because I reached out for help, and I realized that I didn't know what was even best for me. And I got surrounded by good people who are my friends now for 40 years, and all have helped direct and guide me on the perfect path for me. And that path was laid out by my past.
How, John, how important do you think being teachable is? Because you speak about that in the forward.
How
important do you think being teachable is?
Well, I think if you're not teachable, well, all I can say up to 25 wasn't teachable. And I give you a quick synopsis of where it took me. And I became teachable when I was 25. And believe you me, it transformed my whole life. It actually opened my whole life up to everything that I would have missed out if I hadn't become teachable. You know, and the truth of the matter was that I remember my dad used to say, the stranger will sort you out. I didn't understand what he was talking about, because I'd done some work for him, and if you started at 9 with my dad, if you went in at 10, it was okay, because you were family and you could do what you like. You know, you break all barriers, and it's wrong, but I did. And he used to say to me, the stranger will sort you out, you buy you. But then I realized when I went out to work in why I was getting the sack, and that people weren't going to tolerate my behaviour, that people at home tolerate, which could make you wonder why we tolerate people, and you know, because they're our own blood, and it's maybe not the right example. I'm only looking from my own experience, in the sense of teachable is, to me, was number one, and number two was then, I think when I went into hospital, into the mental for the last time, you know, they said, what are you going to do? They called me cowboy because I was there 3 times. And they said they shouldn't even let me in. Imagine now you get to the mental and they're telling you, no, we can do nothing for you. You've been here before. You know, you're not teachable. You wouldn't follow a process. So I said, the last time I was there, I was very sick, very drunk the night I arrived too. I said, whatever you're telling me to do, I'm going to do. And that's what I done. They sent me to a fellowship of people that was helping themselves stay sober, and that's what I needed there and then. And I was aware that I had connected to a deeper part of myself. I had connected to my life force, which I'm deeper connected today because I'm developing in the understanding. And then when you made that connection of becoming teachable, the right people just appeared for me. The right people in fellowship, the right people to lead me and guide me in opportunities at work. I just, every day I go to work and I'd say, oh my God, like what's happening? You know, everybody seemed to want to give me businesses. And they actually they didn't want any business for them. I think they were in a lockdown mode, that they thought the world was going to end and everything was over. You know, and I thought, Jesus, this is all gifts. This is great. So teachable, Donna, is key. You know, if you want to break it down and look at things, you know, if you're not teachable, you know, and I think it's important that the people that you're surrounded by, you know, that you're surrounded by people that have a high vibration, who is living a quality of life that attracts you. You know, and that's to me was vital, and that's the things that I was sort of told when I got sober. You know, find people that you like their sobriety and start hanging out with them and see how they do and how they live and what they do. And it's that simple.
Well, one question, John, that I get asked a lot, and I put it out there, you know, over the last week or two, different questions and the most popular ones. But one of them was, how do we move away from people who don't understand us, who don't get us, and to become more aligned with people maybe who do, or to bring those people into our circle? Because most people have people in their environment that aren't necessarily supportive of their goals. They're not necessarily supportive of their future. And I think it's, you know, it's something that people find tricky to move away from that kind of zone and into something better. So what would you say about that?
Well, I remember when I got sober and I was in the mental for the last time, thank God. And the charge nurse says to me, how many friends have you got? And I started looking at the dart team, 10, the pool team, the snooker team, all pub games I played, right? So I said, God, I could have 50 friends. Okay, you've been here 6 weeks. How many of them come to see you? No one. Okay. But they wouldn't come here, like down to this place. Yeah, but you're here. You know, and I remember when I went back out and I started to find out what I really had in common with them. And then they're all good people now, don't misunderstand me. I had nothing in common with them. They had nothing to offer me. I wanted sobriety, and I used to go to a wee village in Camla, a meeting, and that's where I was born. And my friends all drank in the village, or my past friends, and you know, they shout over, and I'd be going up to the meeting, and I'd be so embarrassed, really embarrassed. Oh, these guys are going to see me get into the meeting. Oh my God, you know, I cringed. But the truth was, see, when I got up and in and sat along with the new friends, I knew that I was in the right place. So sometimes you have to make a big call. Mine wasn't a big call, but it seemed a big call at the time. But that's what they had to offer me. So it was all based on my experience. These people really had nothing to offer me other to go into a public house, fill yourself full of alcohol for any of us that take a drop, you know, talk nonsense and tell lies and believe that you're in reality. And you're not, you're totally disconnected by it. Wake up the next morning and you feel sick. It doesn't even matter if you have only 3 glasses of wine and you're you've actually you know, you're poisoning your system and you say, no, I feel okay. You know, and so for me, it was it difficult? It seemed difficult, but it wasn't really difficult. When it came to the understanding that I wanted a life, I wanted to get sober, I wanted to provide for my family. I had tried their way and it didn't work. You know, so how do you get away from people? Your energy, your whole life force, your life inside you will tell you when you're with someone, do they uplift you? You feel good and you're energized and well-being the following day or that evening or whatever? Or is it just a gossip conversation? You know, you can look and see what benefits, you know, so you look for benefits and it's very easy for you to know. You know, it's not that we're better than or less than. People are in different parts of their journey. When I moved into my new part of my journey, it had to be new people. It had to be new people. With the other people that I was with, well, that was death. Death by whatever way, by means, and it would have been fairly quick and it would have been fairly soon. So my whole life was at stake, and I don't know of other people's lives. I imagine it is. It's not because of an addiction that's the only people's lives at stake. Your life inside you is at stake. every moment of every day of choices you make. You know, it's down to your choices. And yeah, it's very, look at Donna, it's very simple, and everybody on the call is all mature people that's very successful themselves. And you know, we're not at the stage of like under 7 years of age that we don't understand the difference in right and wrong for us.
And what do you think at the moment, the way people are, I mean, whatever people's beliefs are, we're living in a world of fear at the moment. Now, not relative to anything specific, but in general, there's certainly an energy of fear around the world. Well, lots of different aspects of people's lives have been kind of shaken for one reason or another. And they develop beliefs around that. And I've spoken to so many people over the last few months about different ways that they're feeling at the moment, whether that be financial pressure or whether it be, you know, not knowing what to do with their kids or illness or whatever. And there's a lot of fear. And I think sometimes if we're afraid, well, I truly do believe this, is that it's a story we tell ourselves in our heads in order to come up with a feeling. And if we look at the world the way it is at the moment, we're buying into our own fear, our own frame of reference, our own lives that, as you said, are, you know, our choices. And everybody's choices in their lives are obviously individual. But I think it's about stepping back and looking at what works for us as people, what kind of life, as you say, you know, connect to life, regardless of what's going on. Both you and I have been in situations that have been very difficult. And we were left with choices as, you know, which way do you go? Do you go up or do you go down? Or do you get sucked in or do you expand out? And at the end of the day, it is a choice. And no different to now, we all have choices at the moment that we have to make day to day and every day of our lives, every moment of our lives. And it's up to us to take responsibility and ownership of those choices. What do you think, John, about how can we help people to be able to become more objective and to represent or re-represent the way their lives are at the moment in a way that's more useful and productive rather than being so reactive?
Well, being reactive at any time is not a good thing. You'll not grow much in any part of your health or any part of your wealth being reactive. And if you're proactive, and it could be a whole different ball game. It's a matter of where you're at in your life and what exactly, you know, what sort of you're looking through. You know, I mean, when I was in my sicker days and where I am now, it's like, it's not the same person. I have to look back and say, God Almighty, that person, fears and all that. Look at, the reality is, you look at your belief system. I went to work for myself and I believed everything I read was true. I didn't ever believe that stuff could be in newspapers that wasn't the truth. So it was in there that confirmed me, and I followed that. That's the truth. Now, my experience and my time in business is that is not true at all. You know, what you're reading is lies. What you're listening to is lies. What you're listening to is, well, if you're in America, it's politics. Are you a Democrat or are you a Republican? You know, so it's what to do is, it's absolutely shocking. We're in the time of a virus, and I was on with my doctor this morning. I had a Skype for an hour, and he says, "What way is things in Ireland?" Say, I believe they're talking about going to lockdown, and he says, "Are they aware that it doesn't work? Are they aware?" And this is a very high-level doctor in the sense he's a doctor, rabbi, self-realized person with he's on incredible forums giving out information in the medical field of the world. He says, like, are they aware, like, that lockdown doesn't work? You know, the effects that people are having on it is much more and much greater than anything. So the reality, what I see it with the virus, is that it's another distraction, and it's here, and most people have it, get well. Now, sadly, I mean, there could be people on the call, I don't know, that have lost loved ones. So I'm not taking anything away from the loss of life. But the reality is, this is my reality, is we're all born and we're all alive and we're here and we are going to die. You know, that's the reality. And the older you get, you're going to die, but we're going to live.
You know, I think the biggest lockdown anybody has is the lockdown of their mind. I think,
Exactly.
and you know, whether people are in isolation or whether people are locked down physically or wherever with their boundaries, I think the worst type of lockdown is actually in your mind. And at the moment, what I'm finding is there's so many people who have approached me via, you know, online or phones or whatever, and have said that they're in that bubble of absolute fear. Now, again, that could be for many reasons, not just necessarily the virus, but I think, and throughout the years, what I've seen is that when people are so caged in by their thought process and they can't see anything outside of it, and I think the challenge is that if everybody is on a fear mode or everybody's on one belief, there's no other perspective, so they can't be changed. I'm just going to share my screen, John, and this wasn't intentional, but I'm going to show you a picture that I actually have here. Just let me move this out of the way. Can you see my screen there now? This picture here is Donna. Can you all see that?
Yes.
John, can you see that? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I think it's relevant. Do not let the lie cover your eyes. And if you look here at the different, just from a visual perspective, if we look at it from, you know, each of us are looking through various different lenses. That's the reality, and how we see the world is basically, it's like sunglasses. You put on one set, that's the way you're going to see things. You put on a different set, you're going to see something else. And it's our filter is really our decisions of how we choose to live our lives as we're life. And the importance of being life, the importance of connecting to life and being the best that you can be. And now you can't do that in a mental lockdown, whatever about physical lockdown. You can't do that in a mental lockdown. I could go onto a desert island and I could be away from everybody else and I could survive, or I could crumble. And there's only one difference, and that is my mind. And what is it that I do in my mind? And if I believe that I'm going to be okay and I do whatever it is that I need to do, make sure that I survive, my chances of survival are a lot better. And I'm saying this in a general life sense, than it is if I get stuck in those beliefs and only wear one perspective. And I think that's the beauty of, John, where you got help, and certainly with me as well, when we both got help, the beauty of it was somebody or some people, or if you're surrounding yourself, as you would say, both I believe, you're surrounding yourself not just with people, you're surrounding yourself with different perspectives. And when you're around good people, you've got lots of different good perspectives. And that's kind of the idea as well with the book, is that there's 20 people and yourself 21 who have they're good thinkers with lots of different perspectives. And for somebody who reads the book or has a conversation with any one of us or anybody in life, when you have a conversation, you're given a perspective, the perspective of that person. Whether we choose to take that on is another story. But if you're around good people, you tend to get good information. And I think that's key for what you're saying tonight, is that it is so essential. And I actually was on a Zoom last night with some other people, and you know, we said it is so essential that you are around the right people, especially in times like this, that you're focused on good information, on good conversations. And most people at the moment, John, I know you probably would agree that most people's conversations at the moment are around fear. What would you say is a positive conversation? How can we shift our consciousness so that we're actually focused on only living our moments in a positive frame of mind?
Well, isn't it great that we all have that choice? And if you choose that, well then it can be as simple as just connecting. I mean, I connect every morning with myself, and I give thanks every night, and I do it on my knees. And I wait there when I'm on my knees to know that I'm connected. Because in the earlier years when I was trying it out, I used to get back off my knees and think I'm connected now, and then I'd maybe go down the stairs and have an awful row with a wife or something. And a friend of mine said to me one time, "John, you mustn't be doing it right." You know, so there's a right way of connecting and a wrong way of connecting. So I'm able to connect now with me. My life force tells me that I'm well. And it's very important. I think I was on a call with Glorianne on Sunday. She was doing a Zoom to her team, and she was talking about Mother Earth. And she says, it's so important, you know, even to just go out to she used to talk about put your bare feet on the ground for 3 minutes a day. But this on the call last week, it was put your hands on there. And every day since that, I went out and just, you know, put my hands down on the grass and felt it and give thanks and praise for everything that it does for me. Because most things that's good and are simple, we don't see it.
I'm not sure. Let me just mute that person there.
Yeah, the movie.
Yeah, John, I'm not sure there why.
I don't know.
Okay, that should be, yeah, they unmuted themselves.
Oh.
Go.
All right, okay.
No.
So, I mean, there's many different ways that people start their day and choose. You have to choose where you're going. Is it right for me to go there? Is it right for me to phone that person? What am I doing? Why am I, you know, you protect yourself and you develop. You see, the simple thing for me, I look at, okay, there's a virus, there's a lot of negative stuff going around. I look at it and say, well, I don't know if a virus would kill me or not. I really don't. I don't know. But I know one drink one. Yeah. So you can see what's most important in my life. Most important in my life is sobriety. Virus is something that's there. And if you look over the last 100 years, there's plenty of people putting plenty of videos out explaining all the different things that people experience in a lifetime. And maybe your grandfathers and your fathers and your great-grandfathers was in wars and camps and no food and hungry 30s and all different kinds of things. So we're just experiencing something that's it's not a big deal other than if you get caught up in where you get caught up. Now you have that choice and you got to make that choice. Everybody has that choice. So it's not that we don't have a choice. We have a choice. What do we choose to read? Who would choose to phone? Who would choose to hang out with? If we're in work environment, who we choose to surround ourselves with. And I would say the very simple thing is the name of your new book. Let's get up every day and just say, be life. You know, be life will probably kill any virus that there is that would affect us in a bad way. You know, that's why I'll be just so amazed with the name of your book, you know. Be life or belief. And I'm going to say, well, let's be life. Let's be life. You know, and that's
not John, that name.
Yeah.
As I basically, we were doing an event one day, and the night before I was just trying to think of different. Obviously, depending on the audience I'm giving a talk to, the content will just come to me depending on what the event is. And I had my phone and my memos on my phone. And for whatever reason, I was tired, I was in bed, and I picked up my phone. And this is a true story, right? So I got a present. My mum passed away 5 years ago, and whatever you believe about the afterlife is everybody's opinion. But I just got a sense that she was there, and I didn't hear anything. It was just a sense that I needed to pick up my phone. So I picked up my phone and I wrote the word belief in it. And I thought, okay, fair enough. So I just put it on there and I just left it. I put it back on my bedside cabinet, and then, you know, maybe a minute or two later, I just picked it up again. And I wrote be life on it. And I looked at the word lie in it. So whatever you believe, everyone has their own individual beliefs. But that night, I believed that my mom was telling me something that was bigger than maybe my understanding of, or, you know, and I think everybody needs to have that understanding, is that life is more than our beliefs. And connecting to life is bigger. And we're all very naive if we think that there's only us, or there's only our thought, or there's only our opinion or our perspective. Life is so much more than that. It's bigger than that. And unless we grasp that, and certainly only when I grasped it, I know for you the same thing, when we connected to life and connected to something bigger, everything changes. Everything changes, and it changes quite quickly and gradually. It's just a matter of every day of getting up in the morning, and as you said, depending on your own thing. And this isn't promoting the book, by the way. This is just I have to send you a copy of this, John. That I did. That. Mum is a green butterfly. That is something I created. It's a gratitude journal, and every day I write in it, and 10 things that I'm grateful for. And my mom told me to do that, and that for me is also a way to connect for life, or connect to life, because it takes you out of what the belief that you don't have anything. And it brings you into a space of you have so much. And every day, if you write down 10 things that you're grateful for, it's very, very difficult after a year to have 3,650 things to be grateful for, not to feel happy. So I think it's about just any little ways that we can have at all of shifting the conversation, both with ourselves and with other people. And personally, for me at the moment, and I chose to do this years ago, but certainly at the moment, is turning off things that don't serve me, turning off the news. I don't need to be inundated about it. I mute people on Facebook. Hopefully there's nobody here that that if there is, you'll learn something tonight. If people are going on about negative stuff, I just mute them for 30 days. I'll give them a 30-day trial. We'll see, do they change their ways? But yeah, it's about only letting positive stuff in. And I find that when you do that, it makes such a difference. And it's, even if you think about, like, if you have a conversation with someone who's really negative, your whole physical energy drops. So the same is true, is that if you put yourself in positive mindsets and positive mind frames, even whatever you want to call it, things grow, things expand. Like I said, it's your energy, and being around, as I said in the call last night to somebody, you know, it's not airy fairy, it's not a hippie thing to say, but our energy and the frequency of our energy is essentially what makes us. And unless we're vibrating or at the same frequency as other people, we're landing ourselves in shark waters or dangerous waters. So it is about choice, and it is about making a decision to be the best versions of ourselves. And the way, you know, if you look at Be Life or you look at Belief, it all has the word be in it, which is, to me, it's, you know, it's like I am. It's the state of just being your natural self. It's being in your natural state. And listening to people who are afraid or negative or anything like that, although it's understandable, it takes you away from that. You get distracted. So I think for anyone on this call, if we can just bring ourselves back to just being and being life. And when we were born, we weren't doubting ourselves. We weren't, you know, buying into fear. We were just solely focused on one thing, and that was development and exploration. And wouldn't it be amazing if we all got back into that state of creativity, exploration, curiosity of what could be and what's possible?
I think it's a very good, you know, when you're saying there, a be in life, and there's also the other side of the coin. When you understand life is, as kids, we're all excited about growing up, and, you know, when they get to there, and it's going to be so good. And it is, you know, but you have to understand where these blockages come from, you know, that causes these effects that aren't very good for us. And it comes from ourselves, because what we need to understand is what we're not. And what we're not is we're not our thoughts. That's what we're not. We're not our thoughts. You're not your thoughts. You're not your thoughts. So let's say that for 100 times. I'm not my thoughts. 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 So, you know, you can turn that system of yours off, because that's not who or what you are. You have thoughts, but you're not your thoughts. That's not who you are. You're not your thoughts. You never were your thoughts, and you never will be your thoughts. You're not your thoughts. And you're not your thoughts. That'd probably be a good mantra, you know. And what am I? Life.